It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. 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 Yes, indeed, it is I, Andy Snowden, with music from stage and screen and anything you might have seen on your television box. And, well, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, in these unprecedented times we find ourselves in, what with all the pubs and the clubs and the restaurants and theatres all closing down, and it hasn't gone unnoticed that it brings the best out in people. And Gresford's councillor, Andrew Atkinson, has set up a community help page on Facebook, and he joins me right now from wherever you. Where do you live, Andy?
Well, we're just in the process of moving back into Gresford. We're
lovely.
On the edge and fly.
Right.
But yes, we've sold the house. We're with my mum at the moment, so I'm trapped in an upstairs bedroom, just sort of trying to stay out of the way and not talk to people.
Well, I think a lot of people are trapping themselves away from the mother-in-law and their wives and kids at the minute.
Yeah. Can I just say, I love your radio voice. You go from sort of like, "Hi, I'm Andy Snowden," to "Hi, I'm Andy Snowden." I really love it. It's a beautiful thing to behold.
I get pulled up for that, you know.
I like it. Thing of beauty.
All right, marvellous. So, as I say, you've set up this community help page, and well, it's not just unprecedented, is it? At the moment, it's quite frightening for people.
Yeah, it's funny because there's obviously no one's had any dealing with anything like it, have they? So there's no sort of blueprint for what you do. So we're just a group of volunteers in the village, sort of muddling through and trying to make a fist of it and make sure people are okay. So I mean, the gist of the group is to make sure, well, it's two groups of people. It's to identify those that need support and help of some kind, be it prescription collecting or food delivering or whatever that might be. And it's to identify volunteers that can actually make that happen, and then just to marry the two groups up. It's as simple as that. Yeah. But we've been very strict on sort of no memes, no jokes, just try and get straight to brass tacks. Do you need help? Yes. Here's someone who can help you. Bam.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed as well that you've actually sort of put out just the question, what can you do? And that is that's quite important as well for people, not just to go, well, I can go to the shops for it. If somebody can, fix someone's leaky tap for them or something like that. I mean, when you're a pensioner, that's quite scary when these sort of things start happening and you can't call a plumber out.
Yeah, it's handy to have a bit of a skills audit of your volunteers and find out who you've got, who can do what. And we've got a cracking guy from the village, Daniel Sissons, Dan the Man, as he will be forever known. Mm-hmm. And he's really sort of stepped up to sort of provide the overarching coordination support on this. So anyone who gets in touch and they need some help, they bang out the message, and he's got this sort of network devised. So he passes it on to a coordinator. The villages at Gresford and Marford, the two villages are split into zones, 1, 2, 3 and 4. He bangs it across to the coordinator, and the coordinator's got a set amount of volunteers. And we pass it on to see who's available to go and do it. And so far, with the limited number of sort of cries for help we've had to get involved in, it's been really successful. Yeah. So hats off to him and the people volunteering. Hats off to all of them.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that's kind of a bit. So it's not confusing really, but I mean it's just every sort of thing springs up another question, doesn't it? And the thing about going to the shops for people at the moment, if you go to the shops for yourself, you might be able to grab a tin of beans and some peaches. So the idea of going for 10 other people in your street, there could almost be something put in place.
Quartered, wouldn't you? Yeah, mob mentality. You'd be hung, drawn, and quartered. If anyone saw, heaven forbid, you needed a pack of toilet roll for yourself, and you needed a toilet roll for 3 people on your list. I don't know how you'd do it. So, it is a tricky thing. And we've got to make sure that everybody's safe and everybody's looked after and everybody knows what they're doing. But one of the things I've been quite clear with people on is it's not just a case of who needs stuff for free, because there's lots of people saying, I can get people this, and not everybody does. Some people are just trapped indoors and they have means and they're saying, I just can't get out. Yeah. So we put a list of food suppliers together, which helps the businesses, which I'm just as keen to do, to help the people who need the food, as help the people who are trying to still retain a living by selling it. And for some, that'll be quite high-end stuff. You could have fabulous restaurant quality food delivered to your door. Yeah. Because they're happy to pay for it, because they would have gone out for a meal otherwise, but they're just trapped in the house. But for some people, there's a bit more of a crisis and they actually need some help, or they can't access any cash for whatever reason, they're a bit stuck. So it's trying to make sure that everybody's looked after, but not just a case of thinking, everybody needs something free. It's a case of there's just different levels of support needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are quite happy to, offer their services in that respect, early doors. But I mean, if this goes on for as long as they're suggesting, and it might go on for, until this time next year, I think I heard yesterday. It comes to a point where something needs to be put in place. I was wondering whether, I don't know if you could get in contact with people at the Spa or the Co-op in Gresford as well, or Marford now. And sort of just say this needs to happen, where you can put aside X amount of stuff that people can, we've got so many people that need. Go on, sorry.
That's one thing we're working on, so that there can be a sort of a donation box there, so it can be collections for people that actually are in financial difficulty, of which there will be a number.
Yeah.
As well as putting items aside, so people don't just sort of run in and just sort of panic buy everything and there's nothing left. So just trying to get some order to it, and hopefully as time goes on, people will realise they don't need 50 million pieces of toilet roll and whatever else, and they've still got 500,000 left.
Yes.
And it's going to last them a while, so they'll that'll ease off, I would like to think, all the silliness. But yeah, we're probably up to about, or coming close to probably 100 volunteers now, which is just incredible. But as you say, it goes on a while, things change. And people are going to get ill as well on that list. The volunteers themselves are going to get ill.
Yeah.
Which is why we've tried to, have backup phone numbers and different phone numbers. What happens if something happens to you? What happens if something happens to him? What happens if something happens to her? Because you just can't, like I said, at the beginning, there's no blueprint for it. You can't plan for it. So you've just got to be as wise as you can in trying to sort of have every fail-safe covered.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the schools, because yesterday you've got two lads who are still in school, so they must have been chuffed a bit. But I was talking to a lady this morning who worked at the Roft, and she said there's almost, at a sort of guesstimate, there's about 80% of kids there whose parents come on that list of so they might as well just keep the schools open.
That's the really, really difficult thing, and I don't envy colleagues in the council and education who are having to make these calls, because it's really, you've just hit the nail on the head. That's what's so difficult. You understand what you've got to do in terms of isolation and sort of keeping kids and families and whatever apart. You've got to provide something for the blue collar, the blue light workers, the all of the supermarket staff, which is fantastic to see them now recognised as key workers. We found out who the real key workers in the country are, haven't we? Which is blinking brilliant.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a provision for them, and then by the time you add that up, that can come to, as you've said, quite a whacking number of people.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and then find the balance to think, well, we can't have it for absolutely everybody. There's no point doing this, but we can't have it for so few people that the people we need out there are really struggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an unbelievably tricky question to answer, that one. I would just hope that it can be spaced out and different systems put in place, so there can be different levels of contact and whatever, so you can drop your kids off at the gate for those families and they can just go in, and there'll be less kids so they can be more spaced out, they could have more time outdoors. So I think all that stuff's going to be worked through at a school by school level and by heads and governors, but yeah, don't envy anyone having to do that.
And has there been work put in place for them to do, or are they just on a bit of a free-for-all now? Early summer holiday?
There's work put in place for them all to do, but it is on a, I've been making inquiries about this as a school governor, as a councillor and whatever else the last couple of days, purely with regard to our school at this stage, in terms of what we're doing as a governor, but then also as an interest to sort of wider schools, what we're doing, because it is down to the schools. It's purely down to the schools. To actually, but there is obviously support from the council, there's support from Welsh Government and whatever else. But in terms of actually delivering it, the schools, are there to make it happen. It's their choice. So they'll be organising themselves as they see fit. Now our kids have been sent home with a load of digital stuff they can access, everything from digitally, it could be a Joe Wicks PE lesson in the morning across to here's your maths, here's your this,
Yeah.
But it's happening so fast. You can't, it's frustrating for us as parents because we want to have all the answers right now, but they can't possibly close the schools, do all this, do all that, and have the digital element of the kids learning nailed all immediately, can they? So no. I think it's probably that's phase 2, is just making sure that works. It's right, making sure they've got work, they've got stuff to do at the moment, they can stick as closely as possible to the curriculum. But then after that, it's about making sure, what I want to see is that there's consistency across all the schools in Wrexham, so you don't have some having a greater offering than others or more support, and how teachers get involved digitally. Are they going to call our kids and have a chat on Skype?
Yeah. Somebody now who I was saying during the Second World War, my dad was saying if it wasn't for the Second World War, we wouldn't have the planes that we have now, and I think this could be the digital age version of that, because people are already thinking outside the box on how to connect with parents and grandparents, who were isolated somewhere. And you just see it on Facebook all the time, don't you? We did it last night as a family. You might have seen it. My kids singing, and so it's a kind of we can do something. You can still work even. I think the next thing that will go is the internet, and that'll be the broadband will start playing up.
Yeah, would be screwed then.
Yeah,
but it's you're right. Yeah, it forces innovation, doesn't it?
Yeah,
because when you're in a crisis like this, and this will force digital innovation. It'll force people to get their heads together, and if every cloud has a silver lining, we're also going to discover who could have worked from home the whole time.
Yeah,
that there could have been provision for people to sort of work from home if need be. It could have given people a better work-life balance this whole time. So we're going to start to discover an awful lot during this time, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I let you go, because I know you're busy, we were saying just before you came on air there that a lot of people, including me, and I'm not a huge fan of the Tories, as you well know.
No.
They're all tipping their caps to Boris Johnson at the moment, and the Chancellor Rishi, he's taken on this job, and he must have been looking in the mirror thinking, he's either thinking, why now, why me, or I'm quite pleased it is me. But it's funny how a lot of people are tipping their caps to him at the moment.
Yeah, and it's I'm not, I have moments with my own party where I just think, I sort of peak and dip where you think, in terms of levels of enthusiasm for your own party.
Yeah.
And I'm not that politically interested in all of this other stuff, but it is interesting. Yeah, my newsfeed is pretty full with people who are just given a fair sort of assessment and saying, yeah, good job, well done, and thanks. There's still massive panic out there, and the government, any government, I don't think, could address that, to allay everyone's fears and the like. But generally, it's been really well received, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, thanks for joining us this afternoon, mate. I really appreciate it. Is he gone?
No worries, thanks. Can you just give a bit of a shout out to, I've set up a Facebook page called Wrexham Takeaways.
Yeah.
So it's to really push all the food businesses struggling across Wrexham. So it'll be like a one-stop shop for who does what you can get delivered or you can collect. So Wrexham Takeaways on Facebook.
Yeah, perfect. Cheers, mate. You take care of yourself.
Brilliant. Cheers, matey.
All the best. Take care. Ta-ra, mate. Ta-ra.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Get up.
So there you go. There's the Gresford councillor, Mr. Andrew Atkinson. And anybody want to join the Gresford and Marford Coronavirus Support Group? That's on Facebook. I'll say it again. Gresford and Marford Coronavirus Support Group. If you can help anybody in need in that area. And also as well, Andy asked me to give a shout out to his page that he set up here. It's called the Wrexham Takeaways. Wrexham Takeaways, dead easy. It's been set up to help local businesses and at this time, and hopefully keep them running as a business.
You're listening to the Andy Snowden Stage and Screen Radio Show. Guaranteed fat-free, gluten-free, and of course, talent-free.
This is a message from the government about coronavirus. It's important we all help to protect older people and those with existing health conditions from coronavirus. If you or anyone in your household has a high temperature or a new and continuous cough, even if those symptoms are mild, you should all stay at home. Don't go to the GP, pharmacy or hospital. Instead, go to phw.nhs.wales for self-isolation advice and to check your symptoms. Only call NHS 111 if you can't get online or your symptoms worsen. Protect yourself, protect others, protect the NHS.